All right, update time. I got that giant box of stuff off. It is laying on the ground over there. So a couple things. There's not a whole lot holding it on. I think it's some silicone or seam sealer around all the edges. And there's a few bolts. So we got these things sticking out. These guys stick out from the firewall. And there's a couple of them, but the biggest thing that threw me is right down here. So here are the lines for your heater core. They got to come off. And then down, actually, where is it? It's right down in here. This area, oh geez, all right, let me get to a better angle. So there's a bolt there. You probably can't see it, but there's a bolt there. You can get it fine. Bolt there, or a nut there, you can get them fine. A nut up there, you can get it fine. And then some bolts around the top. And there's one right over here in this back area that you cannot get to for the life of you. You gotta take off this inner fender. And I started taking off the bolts, and then I just got over it. And here's what I did. You know, this is a vehicle, this is a donor vehicle for me. It's gonna be gotten rid of, but this is all I did. I cut an access hole in the inner fender. I got tired of taking the bolts out. Most of them are rusted and seized. And that, I was able to get to the last bolt holding that entire AC evaporator or whatever it was, that whole box of the blower motor on. There was one more bolt right here, and I was able to get that off because I cut the access hole. So I could weld it back in, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to. I'm selling the truck. It already has rusted inner fenders, so that's that. I got all that out. Now I'm gonna go on the inside. I've got the dash off on the inside, but we're gonna go in here and we're gonna start working on getting everything from the inside taken out. So the dash is already off. I'm gonna work on getting the heater controls or the AC controls out over there. And I'm gonna work on taking all this stuff off in here. So I'll show you how that goes. All right, another update here. I've done a little bit under the dash. I've gotten most of the ducts pulled from the inside under the dash, and I'm working on getting the electrical, which is that piece right there, shoved through. So it's all of this stuff that connects to the side of the AC box and all that. It's also a line that runs across and it goes into this guy, the left-hand side, passenger side. It bolts right up to that. It's an electrical piece. It also connects to the electrical that goes to your compressor to engage the clutch. And there's also a vacuum line, so that I did not think of or account for, but it's a vacuum line. You can see the T right back there. That guy, I disconnected it, and I'm gonna shove it through to under the dash. I don't know, I haven't looked yet, but I don't know what's over here. Yeah, there's zero vacuum on the back of my 84 with heat only, so I'm probably gonna have to find a port for vacuum to make that work. But just know it goes through this hole right there, and there's a couple electrical lines that runs to your clutch and that runs to all your AC stuff in the engine bay. And then there's also a vacuum line that bolts up to like a T fitting or an X fitting right over there. So that's where we're at for now. Got all of the AC electrical fed through, and I remember where zero of it goes. All right, here is all the stuff under the dash for the 87. This, don't mind those Crocs. This is the firewall stuff. That's the heater, heater core. That all faces the firewall. This faces the inside. Here's all of the electrical. Plus the, and I'm trying to do this while holding the light. Okay, this is the stuff that runs to, this runs to the AC clutch, to ground, and then the power. This runs to like the blower motor. This this is all under the dash. I think this is a ground. This is something under the dash. This is also something under the dash. And here is the main control module for under the dash. Let me get, let's focus. This is the main control module for under the dash. So we'll see how this works out. I got to figure out the electrical because all this stuff has to plug into something. And I don't think my 84, I don't think it has any of this electrical. So I'm gonna have to figure all of that out, but everything's out. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside, kind of tell you what I did. Basically, it's all out. So that was the hole where the evaporator or all that big plastic box I just showed you went through. And then there was this T-fitting. It's ripped off there, but it was the T-fitting that goes up to, I think, what are the windshield wipers, which is that orange and black line right there. And then the electrical runs over into this box and connects up into this stuff. So let me see if I can get some sort of light. Let me see. This is that one plastic clip that I thought was a ground. But that's where we're at for now. We've got everything taken out of the 87. And we're about to swap it into the 84, hopefully. Little update. I hate GM. I hate them. I hate them. Hate General Motors. Okay, here's the 84. Trying to take out the that thing, you know, the heater fit in my AC box. You got me all excited, you got me all pumped up. For a second, I just took out 3 bolts. It was 5/8, 1/2, 1/2. They got me excited because I thought this right here was a access panel so I could get to the bottom bolt of the whole heater box or AC box, this guy. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. This entire thing is rusted to all heck. And I can't get any of it off. So I'm gonna take the grinder to it and I'm gonna knock it off, and then I'm gonna get to the bolt, the 7/16 bolt that is holding in, or the nut rather, that's holding in this whole heater AC box thing. Alright, I have the dash off and I have the bezel off for the 84, the non-AC truck. And we're gonna start trying to fit the AC stuff in. Not yet. Okay, so this thing right here, that's the heater controls. We're gonna bust that all out. And then after that, we're gonna start trying to fit, I'm gonna take off the glove box as well. But then I'm gonna start trying to stuff all of the AC stuff under here. It looks like the dash has all the holes cut for it, right there, and right there. So I don't need to cut any holes in the dash. But I gotta start stuffing things in here, so that's next step. Alright, we might have to cut some holes in the firewall before we mount up all the AC stuff. This is the non-AC truck. The holes in the firewall do not line up at all, so I'm just gonna get some metal 16 gauge, anything that I can find, and I'm gonna draw some patterns, and then I'm gonna trace the AC truck. Then I'm gonna put it on the non-AC truck, and I'm gonna cut it out. I'm gonna sheet metal screw it in. Might weld it, might tack weld, who knows. But I think we gotta do that before we line up the electrical and all the lines. This is the AC unit. That's the non-AC unit. They're basically identical. aside from a couple different pieces. Obviously that one, different contraption, different spaces on the firewall. I'm going to have to cut out some templates of cardboard and weld them in, or self-tapping screw them in. But otherwise everything else looks for the most part the same. So this is the non-AC unit. Heater core, it's in a different location than on the AC unit, so we gotta account for that when we drill the holes. But otherwise, all the controls, for the most part, everything is mechanical over here. It opens and closes. Alright, let's see if I can make it happen. I am doing this over here. It just opens and closes this guy to let heat in and not let heat in. Fairly straightforward. Here is the AC unit, and it's for the most part the same, except instead over here when we do heat versus non-heat, it's the top one, I'm gonna do it right here, it just actuates this guy over here. So it opens up that and that. For the most part, seems pretty mechanical. The only differences between the two, all of the electrical plugs into their own stuff. You don't have to worry about that. The only thing that's different is this one plug right here. I have to figure out whether it's a power or a ground. I'm assuming it's a 12 volt or a ground, and we'll figure that out. The only other difference is this one vacuum line right here. This is the T fitting that I broke off. This is under the dash. It went on the passenger side by your right foot. This guy's gonna go over by the kick panel and plug in. And I'll figure out what to do with this, whether I cap it or not. But other than that, all this stuff runs through the firewall, goes to your AC, your blower and motor, and the clutch and all that. So for the most part, this should be fine just to plug right back in. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Another thing to mention, I cleaned off all of these AC ducts with, I think it's Simple Green or Purple Power, whatever, I don't know, some sort of cleaner. I think it's Purple Power, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Clean off all this stuff. It is caked in dirt, and I cleaned it all off. The main reason is I want the tape to stick. So I'm gonna put this stuff back together. The idea like this, right? And then in the actual truck, the thing is like terribly spaced out and it's horrible. But all these joints, you're losing airflow. So when I put this back together, I'm gonna tape it and wrap it in ducting tape. Everything, every joint, I'm gonna wrap it in ducting tape and just make sure I'm not losing any air underneath the dash. Cause it was really bad when I fired this thing up and tried to do the AC or any sort of heat with this truck. There was huge gaps in everything, probably about this actually, under there. And we were losing tons of airflow. It was just getting poured under the dash. So clean everything off and then wrap stuff with ducting tape, and I'll show you when I do it, just to seal up these joints.